by ourselves right now. So before we get started, I do want to let you all know that this meeting will be recorded. I see we just started the recording, so you will be able to watch it later. We'll send that out to everybody, but also just want you to be aware that you're on camera. So smile, pretty. But I am Carolyn Kemp. I'm on the marketing team here at Enable, and we just want to say welcome to our hands-on workshop. We're going to be talking through utilizing Microsoft Office 365, Teams, and other tools to track incoming care requests and assign them to people who can help. We think the Office 365 platform is awesome and just provides some really valuable tools for enabling your ministry, and we're really excited to show you some of that today. But before we get started, we have a little game for you guys just to add some excitement. We're going to be keeping track of how often someone says enable in any form during this call. So I think I've said it twice now.
Yeah, who's counting, by the way? Caroline, is that your job?
I'm going to count. Ellie's going to count. So we'll have kind of two tallies going just to make sure.
Good.
So again, the number of times that somebody says enable in any way, you try and keep track of it as well. And at the end of the workshop, we are going to give away 2 free hours of Teams consulting to the person that comes closest to the right count without going over. So Elliot's going to give one person, 2 hours of free consulting on what we talk about today, and just how you can utilize Teams. So it's a pretty great deal. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ellie.
Yeah. It's so fun seeing y'all's names. I've recognized y'all's names from sending y'all emails and interacting with you guys through our info at email. So we're so glad that y'all are here. So as we're turning the corner into this new world of how do I work from home, we're kind of turning into how can we mobilize the church and care for its community. So again, today we're going to look at how to manage those influx of requests that you guys are going to get, whether it's financial, medical, meals, helping hands, all of that, how you guys can assign and track those. So here's just a couple questions we thought, and maybe you can relate to these. Are you finding it difficult to adapt an organic and decentralized process of connecting people with needs to people that can help? So, and also with the expectation of an influx of way more requests than maybe you're used to, how can you keep track of these so that nothing slips through the cracks? So Elliot Wood is our director of consulting at Enable, and he is going to show us how to do that today. And we just hope these things are helpful. And like we've said before, for those of you who are just joining on, we've made this an interactive workshop. So you guys can unmute yourself, you can show your video, and we do want that, as Elliot's talking, jump in and ask questions. We will have some time at the end for questions, but we want this to be fun and interactive. When you are not speaking, we do ask that you be on mute just to kind of lessen any feedback that we have. And feel free to ask your questions in the chat, and me or Caroline will get to those as we're going throughout the presentation. So with that, Elliot, take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Ellie. So thanks everybody for joining in. I'm really excited to see you here, when you throw these things out, and hope people will show up. So the tools that we're going to show you today I think are going to be really beneficial to your ministries and enable you to more effectively provide care to your community. While our first preference is always to use our primary church management software, whatever that is, to track anything related to the people in our church, we realize that not all of our church management systems have that capability to function as a task management tool. And even if they do, in the midst of crisis, there may not be time to set up some of those processes. So what we're going to show you today, I think, will give you some good, we might even call them quick and dirty tips to use what you've got in Office 365. So if you've already got Office 365, we think you've already got some great tools to help you manage things. And in this webinar, I'm gonna present some options for using Office 365 forms and Teams and OneNote and Planner to receive, assign, and track care needs. So that can kind of focus it in on those care needs ideas. But the tools are pretty flexible, and you can use them for a lot of other things. We are going to record the call, as Ellie and Caroline mentioned, and we'll make the notes and things available. So I tell you, if you want those notes, just indicate that in the chat and indicate an email address that we can send those to you. so that we can get those links together. I'm still working on making some of my notes pretty enough to share anyway. So one more thing, yeah, I'm showing you one process, and it's one way to do things. And I really will love to hear some ideas from you guys as you start playing with the tools, of the things you're trying to do and the things that that you are using the tools to do. So with that, let's kind of go ahead and get started.
And I wanted to say this too, Elliot. We will send y'all the notes. So I don't know if me and Elliot communicated on that. Thank y'all. I see some of y'all already typing and y'all want the notes. We're going to send an email out to everybody with notes and a recording of the presentation. So you will.
Yeah,
you are
I
all
think
set.
yeah, just put your email there so we know who to send it to. I think that's the main thing. We won't have that just from people joining, since we didn't do a form to sign up for this one.
Okay. Gotcha.
So the first thing I always like to start with, kind of, what's the problem we're trying to solve? Whenever we're looking at a solution, the first thing we want to start with is, what's the problem? So in situations of increased need, we can expect an influx of new requests that can stress the often organic care processes of many churches. So a lot of our churches, the process for help, maybe a benevolence team or a take them a meals team, or helping hands or whatever, sort of happens organically. It's Bob calls Sue, Sue calls Tom, Tom calls Sally, and it happens through email and stuff. And that may work okay when we have a couple of requests or a couple of needs coming in a week. But if we see this really jump up the way some of the news reports are suggesting it might, we're going to see a big influx in care requests, and we need a good way for people to submit those requests for help very simply. To triage and identify what those requests are and help get them assigned to people on our care teams, whatever we call those care teams, and then track progress. So we want to be able to do that simply and keep track of it that way. So first things first, do you already have a system in place? I don't want to reinvent any wheels here. Can the system you already have in place expand to support this current need and scale up for you? And if it can, stay in the call and see what you learn about teams. But if you can do something with what you've already got, use that first. And if your church management system already has a good ability to manage task assignments, consider whether you can use it and get it running fast enough. Some of the church management applications, like Ministry Platform, have recently, in the past week, even released a have a need, can solve a need plugin that will help you connect people that have a need to people that can solve a need. And you should absolutely be digging into those types of solutions, whatever they are. And that's something we can certainly help you guys think through too, if you've got some church management and want to explore more specifically how that product could help you. In a perfect world, when we come back to some normalcy, we're going to create some day-to-day processes that can easily scale up in these times of demand. So one of the things that I think we're all learning from this is that the organizations that kind of had some work from home processes in place before they got sent home by the government last week, we're in pretty good shape. Organizations that already were using work from home as part of their perks for workers, a couple of days a week, we're sort of ready to make that change. And we want to kind of think about these things as we get back to normal, and not let the lessons we've learned through this go to waste. How can we set our processes up so that we can keep going and basically just take the normal thing we do every day and do more of it? So our focus on this workshop is going to be sort of on the tracking of an incoming request, assigning it and tracking it. And so matching people who have a need with people who can meet a need. One of the things I always start with when we're doing a process is a whiteboard. So start with diagramming the process. I did this in Visio, but if you don't have Visio, a whiteboard's great. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with an intake form. and we're going to use a Microsoft intake form. We're going to automate some tasks to happen and create a task in Microsoft Planner. And from there, we're going to notify in our triage channel a post that notifies the team that that something has been submitted. And we're also going to create a notification maybe to the triage person that that a new entry has been made. So depending on your team, you may just want to do a notification into Teams, or you may want to email one or more people. And then once that planner task is created, we can create additional tasks as needed. We can assign it, the tasks, to certain people on the team, and then we can track in OneNote some of the details of our case. So the tools we're going to use are Microsoft Teams and Forms and SharePoint and Planner and Power Automate and Groups. So to kind of help frame some of that for you, the tasks we're going to do with those is, first, we're going to create a new team, and then we're going to invite people to our team. We're going to create a group form inside of our crisis care team or our care team, and we're going to create a new OneNote and Planner in our crisis care team. And then we're going to create a Power Automate flow to notify team members of new requests and start a new task. The structure of Microsoft Teams may help you to think about it a little bit. When we create a team in Microsoft, and this will all start to come together a little bit as we get into the tools, but when we start to create a team, Microsoft's automatically going to create an Office 365 group. So a group is just a group of people, and that group will automatically create a SharePoint site for the team, along with document libraries, which are just file folders to go with the group. And then it's going to create a notebook in what we call the general channel, and I'll show that to you in a minute. And then it's going to create a team mailbox. So it's doing several things in the background for us, and it just kind of helps to see a little bit how some of these things are related. So before I jump into the actual demonstration, any questions or comments? I'll give you guys a second. Okay. Well, I'm going to jump in here, and what I've done, I've already logged in, and so I've gone to teams.microsoft.com, and let's see if we might ought to mute here.
I think that, yeah. I'm gonna, Izzy, I think that's you. I'm gonna mute you. We love hearing your kid. They're welcome to chat with us, to chat whenever, but I'm gonna go on and mute you. If they want to participate later, you can get off mute and we can chat with her.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm logged in as Larry the Cucumber today because Travis was Bob the Tomato last week in his demonstration, but I've just logged into teams.microsoft.com, and today I'm going to do everything in the Teams browser view. You can certainly download the Teams app to your computer if you want to, and do most of what we're doing in that Teams app. But just for kind of simplicity of the demonstration, I'm going to do it in Teams on the web. So on the left-hand side, if you're familiar with Teams, you've got all your kind of sections here: activities, chats, Teams, calendars, calls. We're going to focus here on Teams. And I've hidden everything right now just to give you the kind of first-time review. And I'm on Teams, and I don't have any Teams viewable right now, but I'm going to go down to the bottom here where it says join or create a team. And you can see that there's some options once I click that. If I was joining a team that somebody else had started, they might have sent me a code, and I could use that code to join. Or I might have some other teams that it's looking at me and going, hey, I see Elliot or Larry, and these look like teams that he'd be interested in. But I'm going to click Create Team here. And the first thing it's going to do is ask me if I want to create that from scratch or create it from an existing group or team. So I mentioned to you earlier that that teams are related very closely to groups. And if I already had a group created, I could join that. But we're going to start from scratch today. So I'm going to click that. And then we have a choice of whether it's private or public. So if it's private, I, as an owner of my team, as the creator, can give other people ownership rights and let them invite people to the team or give permission to people to join the team. If it's public, then everybody in my organization can see it and join it. So we're going to make this one private because this is about care and possibly could have some personal information that we want to protect, and we don't necessarily want everybody on our staff to have access to it. So I'm going to call my team Sharing is Caring, just for fun. That could be anything that you want to call it. That could be care teams. That could be, you know, action response team or the action to care team or whatever you want it to be. And if I wanted to give it a description, I could say, you know, team for tracking care requests, right? So I'm going to click create, and in the background, it's going to automatically create it. Hey, nice work. And then the next thing it's going to do is going to give me an opportunity right here and now to add members to my team. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to invite Caroline and Ellie. And let's go ahead and invite Bob the Tomato from last week and Travis to my team. And then I have an add button here. I'm just going to list those folks, and you see it added them. It's going to give me an option right here, right now, to choose whether I want to make them a member or an owner. And let's say, you know, I want Travis to be an owner, and let's say I just want all of these guys to be an owner, except for Bob the Tomato. We're going to leave him as a member. Owners have some special rights. Owners can invite other people to be in the team, and they can do some of the more creating things in the team. Members are more of a contributor, but they don't have, say, the admin rights that other people do. And I may have some people that I want to invite outside of my organization. So I'm in our Enable Office 365 domain here, but I'm going to invite my personal account at home to be it, and it's going to be a guest. And the reason it's a guest is because it's not licensed for Office 365, and it's not part of the church domain, but it can interact and be part of the team as well. So if that email address was not already part of Teams, then they would just get an invite, and they'd need to set up a Microsoft account, a live.com or outlook.com or hotmail.com account if they didn't already have one. But you know, like if they had a Gmail, they'd need to set up a Microsoft account to go with it, and that'd be true of any platform that we might would use. So so you can see now that I've set up the team. I've created the Sharing is Caring team, and you can see that it's created what's called a channel just below Sharing is Caring, and it's created a general channel, and every team that gets created gets a general channel. And just beside that, you'll see there's a couple of dots that give us some more options. We can add members to our team at this point if we didn't do that already. We can click the Manage Team button to go and see who the members of our team is and some other details. And then below that, we've got a similar dot next to General, where we can do some things related to our channel. And then across the top, we've got posts, and you'll see that a post is generally a chat kind of experience where the members of the team or the members of that channel can carry on a conversation and see the history of those conversations. We also have it automatically created files, and there's not any files in here right now because it's a brand new folder, but this is just a what they call a document library that is a place for you to keep your files. And you'll see that if I click new, I could just create a Word document, and I'm going to click create, and it's going to actually just go ahead and open that Word document right here in Teams. And I could edit that document and do whatever I want with it. But you'll see now that under files, that test document is there. And then I mentioned to you that it opens up or creates a SharePoint team site for Teams. We'll talk a little bit more about this, but I'm going to go ahead and click that open in SharePoint, and that'll show you that it's going over to the SharePoint team site that it created to go with my team. And in that documents section, if I click this documents button, I'll see that channel for general has a folder. So as we create additional channels, we'll start to see that that it builds folders for each of those channels. I'm going to close that for now. We're not going to use the wiki function. This is sort of a loose kind of note-taking function, but we're not going to use it. And I want to show you, if I'm the owner of this group and I don't want to use that, I can just remove it. I right-click on it, I click remove and remove it. And that takes it out of the way and makes it so that it's not causing clutter on my screen. So the other thing that you'll see we can do is, and we're going to cover some more today, is a OneNote. So I hope a lot of you are using OneNote. It's really my favorite Office 365 app. But if I click this plus tab on the general tab, I am going to see a list of things that I can add as tabs, and we're going to start with a OneNote. And it's going to pop up and it's going to ask me if I want to create a new notebook or if I want to use an existing one. And one of the things that happened automatically when Microsoft created my team and created my group is it created a sharing is caring notebook in my SharePoint. So I'm going to use the one that it created for me, and I'm going to hit save. And that's just going to put a link to that OneNote right up on my my tabs here and open that notebook, which of course is empty. And we're going to come back to some notebook details in a little bit, but that gives you a little bit of an idea of just the lay of the land in this new team that we just created. Any questions before I move to kind of the next step, which is we're going to create a new channel for the triage, and then start building out some of our environment.
One thought I had, Elliot, is maybe would it be super easy for you to show them where that notebook shows up in SharePoint?
Yeah.
Or I guess if they were doing OneNote online or the OneNote desktop application.
Absolutely. So one thing you'll note right now, Microsoft is experiencing such high demand that they've made it so you have to edit your OneNote in. You have to edit your OneNote in the app. So right here, you'll see this little button for open in app. And I'm going to choose it. I'm going to choose open in OneNote. I'm choosing the option that has a little cloud here, which will open it in the OneNote browser. So that's opening, and you'll see my toolbar here now says Solarent 2001 SharePoint. For those of you that don't know, Enable used to be Solarent until we changed our name because nobody can spell it or say it. But it's in your SharePoint.com site, and then I can click Edit Notebook, and I can edit in the browser, and I could actually edit my notebook here. We're going to come back to this some more in a little bit, but that'll show you where that goes. And if I were to come back to my SharePoint site, I'm going to do that later. It'll be a little easier.
Perfect.
So I'm going to move next to, I want to create a channel for the triage. So this is a place where as new requests are coming in, we can discuss them, we can manage them. So what I'm going to do is right click here on sharing is caring on my main team, and I'm going to add a channel. And in this case, I'm going to call it triage. You could call it intake. You could call it whatever you want that makes sense to your team. And I'm going to choose, I could give it a description. I'm not going to worry about that right now. I can choose whether I want to make this a private or a standard channel. I'm going to make this one standard. We're going to make a private one in a minute. And then I'm going to automatically show this channel to everyone's channel list. So everybody that's a member of this team will automatically see it in their channel list. And it's going to take just a second. And now you see I've got my triage channel. And then I'm going to also create another channel that's going to be private for financial matters. So some of the requests that we can certainly expect to be getting in the next few weeks will be financial benevolence kind of things. So I'm going to create this financial channel, and I'm going to call it private. And I'm kind of assuming that maybe we have a sub team of our caring team that is focused on some of those financial matters. And so the first thing it's going to ask me is, who do I want to add to my financial channel? And let's say that on my financial team, it's just going to be Travis and Bob. So you'll remember I invited Ellie and Caroline to my team earlier, but now I just want to limit down to a couple of people that are involved in my financials. And you'll see what it did is it created a little lock here, indicating that this is a private channel. And you'll see that I've got posts here. These would be private. Only the teams that the members of this team could see it. And then in files, you'll see that I can save files to this file document library. And I'm going to click this open in SharePoint button here. This will get us back to that SharePoint site. But what you'll see here is that I'm now in Sharing is Caring -financial, which is a separate group or a separate SharePoint. It's a sub-site of my Sharing is Caring site that, again, only Travis and I at this point have access to. So any files we put here, maybe we needed to get someone to fill out some sort of intake form that has their income and their expenses and other things, or maybe we're scanning a bill that we want to keep track of, and we're putting those files. Maybe we might create some subfolders here based on the name of the person that we're caring for. So if we're helping Joe Doe with something, we might create a folder called Joe Doe and enter all of his all of the supporting documents for our financial process there. But if you see, I click on parent team. I'm going to click on parent team here. And now I'm back in that Sharing is Caring SharePoint. And I can get to that again from the channel. And I'm gonna end up showing you how to add a tab for that. But that notebook that Ellie just asked, where is it? It's right here in my Sharing is Caring team. And if I click on it, it's going to open that notebook right there again. If you have the OneNote app and you want to open that notebook in the app, you can always click on Open an App. So any questions on that? I don't want to move too fast, but I also want to make sure we get to everything.
I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. Oh, Christine just asked one. Let's
Okay.
say we want to find the doc or file later, maybe like a year later. How do we find it?
Okay, so you've got a search at the top of your search bar at the top. Let's go back to my team, and we had a test doc, right? So let's see.
And maybe in Teams, but also if like in the OneNote or whatever. I don't know.
Right, yeah, so when you're in OneNote, you can search within OneNote. I'm gonna go back here. I don't have anything in this OneNote, but you can search. I'm in a different view than I'm used to. But if I click here on this little magnifying glass, then I could search, and I don't have anything to search for, but that'd be where you could search for things in OneNote. If you've got the OneNote app and you open it there, you can search kind of globally.
So this is a good thought that even I'm learning this as we're doing this. It's a separate notebook than because it's not opening like all your other notebooks that you have.
Right.
So I guess to Christine's point, if you have a finance, you'll have your own notebook for financial, your own notebook for triage. It's not going to necessarily be like in your OneNote, like where you maybe have them all in one place. Is that
right?
Is that correct?
Yeah. So you can have multiple notebooks that you have access to, and you can search them all, especially if you're opening them in the app. If you click Open an App, I'm not going to do that because I'm logged in as Larry the Cucumber and not as me.
Oh, okay.
But if you're in your OneNote app, here, let me just drag my OneNote app over, and you'll see I have a lot of notebooks. I've probably got 15 or 20. Some of these are shared notebooks that are in a team. Some of them, like this one called Work Notebook, is my personal notebook that I keep a lot of stuff that's maybe not related to the rest of our team in, but I can have as
So
many as I
that's
want. And if I did a search in that in my app, I can tell it whether I want it to search just the notebook that I'm in, or whether I want it to look in all the notebooks that I have. And so if I did a search for, benevolence, maybe, and I have that word showing up in 20 different pages of different notebooks, it would find them all.
okay. Perfect.
So
That makes sense.
I will kind of come back to some more details on notebooks in a little bit.
Perfect. We
as well.
got two
So,
other questions, Elliot.
Okay.
Ronnie, could you sync the team to your DT and thus have access anyways? Or I'm sorry, have access always? I don't know what DT is.
Desktop.
Yeah.
Okay.
So absolutely,
Thanks.
yes.
I'm a Mac
So-
girl.
yeah. So, or your Mac, you could, your
Yeah.
your laptop, desktop, Windows or Mac, So when you're in the file section, you can hit the sync button, and if you've got the OneDrive app on your system, then you can sync those.
Okay.
So
All right. You got
Just
one
note
other
that-
question from
The sync has to take place for each channel that you want to sync. So you'll
Right.
notice when he's in the triage folder, we don't see his test file because he left that under the general channel. So if he were to sync triage, his test file's not there, right? So you have to pay attention to syncing each channel that you care about having synced.
Good. And then Christine had one more question. Is this a different world than how our departments each have their own SharePoint folders?
Yes, in the case of ChangePoint, where I happen to know Christine is from, their setup is different. They are using SharePoint as their file server, and each department has a document library there that is not directly integrated to Teams. So yes, if you create a team, it will be a different folder set.
Mm-hmm.
And Christine, if you want to talk about how you can link those things together and make it a little more integrated, we'd be happy to talk to you about that. Definitely something for outside of this webinar.
yeah.
A little more complex.
So these things will, they'll enable us to have some partitions between different teams. One of the things that you might find as this thing goes on, you might create a channel for medical, or a channel for helping hands, or things like that, as you're kind of trying to figure out, how to help reduce the noise and give the teams that are working on certain tasks or certain issues the tools they need to keep track of just the people they're working with. So a lot of opportunity to customize and think about it. But so I showed you how to.
Sorry, quick follow-up on the sync. If you do not sync it, then the docs are not updated, is one question we have.
If you don't sync it, then you're dealing with the docs through the web view. So you don't have to sync it. You can go access all the files right here in the web view, open them, manage them, deal with them there.
Up-to-date. Yeah.
Even open them in the app, like open them in Word or Excel. So what sync really gives you the ability to do is, if you're wanting to use it when you're offline, or wanting to have some faster access to it, or if you're just one of those people like me and I sync my files, if you're one of those people like me that really likes to just hit things through Windows Explorer or Mac Finder and have it feel just like you're browsing your normal file system, then syncing helps you do that. So
perfect. Thanks, Elliot. Keep going. Hopefully we'll get on
so
time-wise.
We talked about how to add team members, and just to kind of reiterate, once you've started your group, you can just click that add members to it and enter their email address, and that'll send it to them, and you can make them owners. We've got owners and guests. So now let's talk about how we're going to create a forum. So our first step in the workflow that we're going to do is we're going to have a forum where people can come and say, I need help. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here in the top left-hand corner to my Microsoft Office 365 launcher. I like to call it the waffle, but you can call it what you want. and I'm going to click it. You'll see the commonly used apps that come up here in the list, and Forms is not there. So I'm going to click this link here that says Office 365 and has an arrow by it. And it's going to open the portal.office.com page. That is another way that you can access Office. And it's a great way because it lets you see everything that you have access to. And I'm going to see that Forms is here in my list. Now, yesterday when I was preparing for this and first created Larry's account, the first time I logged in, Forms was not even here because it's maybe more rarely used. So I had to click all apps to get to it. Now it's showing up here. So I'm going to click Forms, and it's telling me, hey, Larry, welcome to Microsoft Forms. Do you want to create a new form? I'm going to skip this button because I want to create a group form. So there's two types of forms. There's my forms, and these are forms that are stored in my account, in Larry's account. I can share those with other people, but here's the downside of a my form. Let's say I create this crisis care form, and then I take another job somewhere else. I win the lottery and quit. And IT gets a notice, hey, remove Larry the Cucumber from Office 365. He's gone and taken a new job. Well, my form's going to go away too. So I want to create a group form. So I'm going to click on Group Forms here. Now this is the one I made yesterday when I was practicing. So I'm going to click this Recent Group Forms button down here, and it's going to pop up, and it's going to say, hey, here's a link to Recent Group Forms, and then here's 3 groups that Larry's a member of where he could create one. You'll see that Sharing and Caring is here with total of 0 forms. So I'm going to click on it, and so now you see I'm in my Sharing is Caring group, and that's a little not intuitive to have to go to Recent Group Forms to get to the group, but that's how you get to it. And so then I'm just going to click on New Group Form, and I've got an untitled forum. I'm going to call this form Care Request, and let's say I want to put my church's logo on it. I can click here, and I'm just going to search Bing for a logo. I could upload one from my OneDrive or from my PC, and let's see. I don't know whose logo that is, but we'll use it. And I'm just going to throw this up here because I don't have one handy that's not from the web, and it's taking its sweet time. So we'll let that keep searching here. And just reload the page. Okay, so now we got it. There we go. So I'm going to add a new question, right? So I can add a choice question, a text question, a rating, or a date. I'm going to start with, a simple form is going to have, what's your name? And I'm going to require that. So I'm going to click my require button. I'm going to then do a choice question of need type, and maybe we'll do financial and meal, and I'm just going to put the other option here, which will give you a box that people can fill out. I also want that to be required, but you know what, I want this one to be one where if somebody has a financial need and a meal need, they can select them both. So I'm going to choose the multiple answers, and that's going to change the box from a radio button to a multiple choice button. And then maybe I also, want to ask one other question, maybe a phone number. And I might want it to, validate that and make sure that it is a number that somebody's putting. So I could do a restriction and make sure it's a number, or maybe I don't really care what they put there. So that's my form. It's a super simple form. And then I can preview it. I can say, hey, I want to see it. And in the preview, I can actually complete it and enter my information right here in the form. Right. And I'm going to hit submit. It's going to tell me it was done. I'm going to click this back button up here, and it'll take it a second before it shows my responses, but they're going to show up in this tab here. I've got questions and responses, and it'll take it just a second to do that. While it does that, I'm going to show you how you could do some more theming on your page. So maybe you want to make it match your church's colors, and your church's colors are this burnt orange color. And maybe, or maybe you really like a picture, and you want to make it a picture. So you can also share it. And so this is where you're going to get your links that you would give your communications department to post the link. So I'm going to choose a link. Maybe I want to just send out an email with a link to it. I can copy and paste that link. I can create a QR code. I can create an embed code that the communications department could drop into the website, or I can click email and it'll open Outlook and start an email. Now notice right now, only people in my organization can respond. So I want to click on this checkbox and make this anyone with the link can respond, because I want people that are not on staff and have a Office 365 account in my organization to be able to respond. I could also share that link as a template. Maybe another department wants to use it for something similar, or maybe I'm inviting some other people to collaborate with me and add some other questions, so I could get a link for them to be able to help me edit this form, collaborate on it. So I'm going to go back to responses and just refresh the page and see if it's got them shown up. Okay, yeah, I just refreshed the page, so you'll see I've got my one response, and Larry entered, and it's got one financial need, so you get a little bit of analytics on it, and I can open this in Excel. So I'm going to click that open in Excel, and this is going back to that SharePoint site. It's created the form in the SharePoint site, and you'll see that this form spreadsheet already has a title of untitled form. I want to rename that care request responses, just so we know what that is. And all I did there was click on the banner at the top and start typing and renamed it. So we'll come back to SharePoint in a minute. I'm going to clear out some of my tabs here. So that's how to create the form. And then the next thing we want to do in preparation, because at the end of this webinar, what we're going to be able to do is send our form response to Planner. And what I want to do here is I want to, in my triage, I'm going to click this Add a tab. You'll see right now, this is because it's a brand new conversation. Microsoft's given us a few tips. They're going to give us a button to start a planner or a OneNote or a website or other things. But right now, what I want to do is do it the way I'll do it if this has been overwritten with a bunch of conversation. I'm going to click this plus button, and I'm going to click Planner. And it's going to come up and it's going to ask me if I want to create a new plan or use an existing plan. There's not an existing plan in my team, so I'm going to create a new one called Care Team Tasks, and I'm going to click Save. And now you'll see on my tabs I've got a Care Team Tasks, and it has opened a Microsoft Planner task screen for me. And just to kind of give you a walkthrough here, across the top you see these headers. They're called buckets, and Microsoft creates one called To Do as the first bucket, and then the next bucket you could name. One of the things I tend to like to do is my first button here. I'm going to call this one Triage, and I might call the next one Up Next, or something like that, In Progress, or I might call it medical or financial or helping hands. These are just a way to categorize the things you're working on. I usually make a bucket called Stuck, so when we start to see things that are getting stuck, we can kind of sort them and make sure that we're keeping an eye on that. As we get to the next steps of our workshop here, we're going to talk about how we can automatically create a task, but we can always manually create a task. And you see these little buttons here for Add a Task. So if I click Add a Task, it pops open this little card that has a place for a task name. And I'm going to call this one I'm going to call this one build a team, right? And I'm going to give it a due date of today, and I'm going to assign it to Larry. Larry's working on this. And so I'm going to click add task. And now I've got this task here, build a team, assigned to Larry for today. Now, if I click on that task, it's going to open and expand a little bit bigger and give me some more information about the task. So telling me which bucket it's in. It's telling me what the progress is, what the priority of the task is. So all of these things I can now set. So I'm going to say this is really important. And the start date is actually today as well. And I could put a note in here about it. Show the team how to use Teams. Okay. Maybe I've got some checklists that I want to do. You know, make a planner, make a flow. We're talking about flow. That's the automation that we're going to do in a minute. And so forth, right? So I've got a bunch of tasks. These all make a checklist, and then there's a little box to show it on the card. So I want my checklist to show up on that card, and then over here on the right, you see we've got these little post-it note tabs that pop out, and they're color coded. I can give them any name I want to. So maybe I want them to match the name of my categories that people are selecting on my form, or whether they have a financial need or a medical need or a helping hands need. And all I've done here is just kind of clicked my cursor right here over the current label, and I'm going to call the red one or the pink one medical and the red one financial, and the yellow one maybe we'll just call operations. So that's just another way I can kind of sort things out. And I'm going to call this one operations and check the box next to it, so it makes the little yellow tab stick out. And then real quick, just some more navigation here. We can sort these tasks by charts and look at them in a different way. What's overdue and what are the status. I can see a schedule that puts a calendar together of what's coming up to do. I can also go back to my board and choose the group by bucket, so I can change how I want to group them. Maybe I want to group by progress or group by who it's assigned to, and it'll make my buckets kind of reflect that filtering option. So that's kind of the quick view on Planner. And any questions on that? And I know we're kind of getting close on time, so if you have questions on Planner, we can address those now. Otherwise, we'll jump ahead.
Yeah, let's keep going, Elliot. And we do want to get to what he's about to show y'all next is super important. And so, Elliot, if you want to try to run through that as quickly as you can, so we can maybe have a few minutes for questions. But yes, yeah. Go on and keep going.
So we've created a form. We've created a planner. And the goal of our task here is to get what comes in on a form to end up on a plan. And so what I'm going to go back, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to my forms, and I'm going to open that form back up again. So I went to my waffle, I went to forms, I clicked on group forms, and I am going to click my sharing as carrying care request. This other one here, the green one, is the anywhere care that I did yesterday when I was preparing. So I'm going to click that one. And I'm just going to have it open for a moment because I'm going to come back to it in a minute. But I'm going to go back to my waffle again and open another window, going to Power Automate. So Power Automate is the automation tools built into Office 365. It used to be called Flow. You'll still see it referred to Flow in some places. And the first thing I want to show you is I'm going to click on Create. And when I come to the Create page, you'll see there's several types of flows. There's automated flows, there's instant flows, there's scheduled flows, and there's business process flows. And today what we're creating is an automated flow, which means it's triggered by some designated event. So those designated events can be all sorts of things. They could be a file gets added to a OneDrive folder, and you want it to do something when that file gets added to a OneDrive folder. Maybe you wanted to copy it to another folder. Maybe you wanted to notify somebody else. But today what we wanted to do is when somebody adds a form or responds to a form, we wanted to create a task on a planner and then notify somebody. The instant flows and scheduled flows do similar things, but we're not going to dive deep into those right now. And we're going to use today, in order to kind of take a jump start, we're going to use one of the templates that comes from Microsoft's template library. And that means that somebody else has already done some of the heavy lifting to put the building blocks of a flow together. And I'm going to go over here to where it says search all templates, and I'm going to type planner and forms just to get it to narrow down some of the templates that have been created using planner and form. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the one here that seems to match my needs the best. And that's this create a task in Planner from Microsoft Forms and post a message in Teams. And so I am going to take this form, and you'll see it's going to connect to Forms as Larry. It's going to connect to Planner as Larry, and it's going to connect to Microsoft Teams as Larry. And I got this little ... where if I wanted to make it use a different account, I could. And it may be, in some cases, helpful to use a different account. But in this case, I'm going to use Larry's account. And click continue. And so you'll see here, I've already got kind of some steps baked into my flow that come from the template. So the first one is when a new response is submitted. So that's the trigger, and it's got a drop down to pick a form. Now here's a little caveat, and this is why we opened Forms earlier, is that Flow can't look up the group forms that we created. So we have to go grab the form ID. And what we're looking for is in the URL here. I'm sorry, this is a little technical, but we're looking for form ID equals, and we want everything after equals until we get to the end. And it's going to end, in my case, in CU. If your bar goes any further and has other special characters like an ampersand or something, that's where you want to stop. You don't want to get the ampersand. So I'm going to click OK. I'm going to right click and choose copy. And I'm going to go back to my flow, and I'm going to enter a custom value, and I'm going to paste it. And so that's going to know my form now. And then what I want to do is I want to get response details. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get the details of my response, because I want the flow to load in all of the answers that people gave me to their question. And so then the next thing I want to do is I want it to create a new task in my plan. And so the dropdown is looking up, and it's seeing that Larry has access to a plan called Anywhere Care Plan and the care called Care Team Tasks. And so you may recall earlier we called our planner Care Team Tasks. So I'm going to choose it, and then I want this new task to be created with a title that I'm going to give it. So I'm going to give it a title of new case, and then I want to put the name of the person in. So you see over here on my right, I've got dynamic content that's coming from the response details generated in that earlier task. So I am gonna take the name and insert it. So you see it inserted when I clicked on name, it inserted it right here in the title. If I had a bucket I want to put it in, I can choose that. So I want to put it in the triage bucket. And I might want to have it automatically put a name in, or a date, a start date and time in. So I'm going to be really simple right now. The start date is going to be now. So I'm clicking on expression here in my little drop down, and I'm scrolling down to the date and time, and I'm choosing UTC now, which is just a formula, and I'm going to drop that right there, and you see it dropped it in. So I'm not going to try and get too deep into formula expression writing in our session here, but you can certainly learn more about it if you click the learn more, and you can read the descriptions on all of the different expressions. And so if I wanted to assign a user ID and I don't want to assign a user ID at this point, I'm going to exit this out, I think, and it's just going to create a task that doesn't have an assigned user. There's some other options you can do once you get this. I want to create a new task. Whoops. Let me delete this extra task I just created. I want to add an action. There we go. And I want to go to my tasks, planner. I'm going to search for planner. And I want to update a task. So I'm going to click update a task. One thing I forgot to do, I need to put a delay in here. Let's see. I'm going to search for delay. And I'm going to put 5 seconds on it just to hold off. And that's going to give it a chance. So what we want the process to be able to do here is to create the task and then give it 5 seconds before it does the next step, because it has to have time to write that task. And then what we're going to be able to do is update the task that we just created and put some more detail in the body of the task. So I'm going to click the task ID, and we want to get that from a custom value. And so that's going to come from dynamic content. It's going to pull from the previous step that we had earlier, which was to create. So you'll see our earlier step over here, create a task. And we're going to go down and find the ID of the task and let it pull that ID in. So what it's doing at this point is pulling the ID from this step into this step. And then I'm going to give the title. I could update the title if I wanted to, or I could, let's see, where is, I could update the progress. I'm sorry, I am.
This is great, Elliot. I think for the sake of time, and I think that this could go so many different ways, and I want just to be conscious of people's time and where they want to go. Caroline, why don't you give a quick update if people need to get off on what they can do with the little game that we started about counting enables? Will you tell us how they'll find out if they won?
Yes. So go ahead and put your guesses in the chat, and we will kind of tally everything together and announce the winner via our social media channels, and we'll also contact the winner directly. So if you want to check up and see who won, check our social media. We got Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and we will contact the winner directly. So thanks, guys.
Great. Yeah. So Elliot, yeah, keep going with this, but maybe only go another 5 minutes.
Yeah, so I'm gonna jump to one I made yesterday just because it'll be a little bit easier than building it in here. So I've created. I'm sorry, what I missed was I was needing to update my task details, and so then in my task details I pulled that ID, and then name, phone. I put all of the bits and pieces from my form into the body of that. Planner task. And then when I go and complete my form, all of those things show up in there. So I think for the sake of time, one of the things I did yesterday was I actually recorded this little segment by itself. And so when we send you the links and notes for follow-up, you can go watch the steps, and we'll also kind of detail out the steps in a PDF form if you want to do this kind of thing. And I don't know that it's really that important that we go through the full step-by-step on this here, because I can show you the end result. And every church may be a little bit different in what you want to do. Does that sound like a good plan on that?
Yeah, I
I
think
think that
so.
sounds
Okay.
great. I think it's
Yeah.
also important to point out to folks, just in case anybody does have to leave, this automation piece is kind of an optional add-on layer. So all of the stuff before about how to have a team with a planner and you can create tasks, all of that can be done manually, right? So you could have a process already where emails are coming in and you're having people go create tasks. What Elliot is showing us now is how to streamline that even further, but you don't have to. So don't feel overwhelmed like it's too much, because there's certainly parts to this that you can use without needing to get into the nitty-gritty.
Definitely.
Right.
Any
So
last little bit, Elliot? Yep, go ahead.
yeah, so let me just real quick, I'll show you where that ended up. And one thing we're happy to do is answer some more questions about how to customize things and things like that offline. Or if you want to stick around and see more or ask questions, I'm happy to stick around, but I do want people to feel like they can duck out at this point. What I've done here on my example from yesterday is I've added that plan, and you'll see what happens here is it automatically creates the new case, and you'll see I created one for Captain Hook, and in the notes it automatically added Captain Hook and his phone number and email address and all of the things from my form. He says he can't cook with a hook and he needs some Long John Silver's. So, there's that. But so that's where
Creative.
that's showing up. And then I could assign that to somebody. I'm going to assign it to Bob the Tomato. Might be dangerous. Bob could get hooked. So anyway,
Great.
yeah. So I'm happy to stick around for questions, or even go deeper, or, into whatever you want to learn about. But also feel free to email us or drop questions in the chat, and we'll follow up with you
Yeah,
at a time that's good for you.
definitely. So I'm not seeing any additional questions come in. We'll wait another 30 seconds, but if you do have any questions, our email is info@enabled.email, and email us and let's set up a call if you need any help, and hopefully y'all know our service desk number. I don't know if I know it by heart. Do you guys know it by heart? 866-297. I don't know it by heart.
You're wanting to provide our main number? I always go to enableministry.com. Service desk would be, specifically for clients, and I know we might have some non-clients on the phone, so we'll probably point them to the stickers that they probably have on their computer, or that they could ask their neighbor
Definitely
to reach out. And of course, enableministry.com. I always just scroll to the bottom. I cheat. That's where we do publish some phone numbers and contact info. So feel free to use that.
Perfect. Thanks, Travis. All right. Well, we did not get any additional questions. So thank y'all. And again, we will talk to y'all soon. Thanks for joining us today.
Awesome. Thank y'all.
Thanks, guys. See you later.